I'm Anthony SanFilippo, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sotomayor and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening? Nasty.
What's up, Rigarelia?
Looking good.
How you doing? I like that shirt.
You like that?
Little Meadsy?
No guy. Yeah.
Did anyone ever think you'd wear a Meadsy?
Oh, only
You
for
probably
the
did
first
when you were
time.
like 15.
Oh, yeah. But back in 1996.
Hey, was that when you were 15?
16.
Jeez, I'm old.
Yeah,
Gosh,
well, I know the guy who made it.
I was 18.
Know the guy who made it.
Fucking wheel. What a wheel.
Yeah.
Guy's got numbers. Let's put some numbies up. Anyway. Numbies. Hey, listen. We almost dropped another men's league game. We had 3 lines the other night. I just got to say this real quick.
That's all you need.
We played our buddies there. JD, left the team. Yeah. JD left the team. Just kidding. He didn't want to play on a team with 3 lines. That's why he left. But it is kind of hard to play like that. But it was fun. But anyway, we held on to win, and I had a fucking horrendous game. But anyway, they only had 6 guys, but they had the right 6 guys. Oh. They really did.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's hard to play that way.
Yeah, 6 guys not enough.
And it was it was 3-3 to late in the third, and we scored, and our buddy Fish, who's the goalie for them, he lives over here. I think he lives in Voorhees, somewhere close. Anyway, after the game, I missed the net 3 times, like by 10 feet.
Mm-hmm.
He says, you're going through the handshake line. He goes, hey, get rid of that stick.
Oh.
I'm like,
ripping on the toe.
I said, it's not the Tovey. I said, if I didn't have it, it would have been 10 feet wide, not 5 feet wide.
That's right.
But I could have
used.
It's
the operator now.
I said it's these. It's the middies. But I'm going to come back strong this week.
Issue.
You coming back? Oh no, you can't.
Well, I got a couple weeks left.
Oh, I thought you had a Valentine's Day.
No, it's long-term IR. Remember,
LTIR. Whoa. Don't start doing that again, because we got checking for charity coming up. So you can't be giving out lower LB, LBI.
Oh,
and I don't mean Long Beach.
No, definitely not LBI.
Lower body? What do you mean?
Long Beach Island.
Yeah, Long Beach. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, anyway, playoffs, buddy. Been pretty good. Pretty interesting.
I'd say so.
I love the first round, because then I almost start getting depressed once teams start getting eliminated, because there's going to be less and less hockey, but it does get better. But pretty much so far we've been doing well with our picks, except for the Tampa.
T-Bay.
And I will say, I thought Tampa, just because I thought they were really hot going in, which they were.
Yeah.
But boy, Florida.
Yeah.
And I was actually, I hate to say this, because I got buddies that are trainers on both sides and know we know a few guys on each team, but I kind of rooting for Florida. There's something about that team. It's Kachuk, I think, the way he plays, and we have some friends on there. Stoley, Cuzzy, Bob, maybe some more guys I came thinking in the training staff. But it was a great series, man. It wasn't like a blowout series, obviously, but man, Kachuk, this guy, just the way he plays, he ends up with 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points in the 5 games. I didn't think it was. I thought it would go longer than 5 games for one.
I thought so too.
Even if my pick was wrong, and I think you,
T-Bay as well,
and Frank Cervalli as well. But man, Bob, I don't think his save percentage is as high as he'd like. I think it's 8.896, and he gave up 2.7 goals a game. But God, he was so good in the one save. I think we've already talked about that. But the big cat wasn't bad either. It wasn't like he was bad. But but it's a pretty good series. It's fun to watch those teams go at it.
Yeah. I thought Tampa would have done a little more, though. I thought they had a little more push. At least drag it out to 6 or 7.
I thought it would too, but I mean, I honestly going in, like we had said, thought they were gonna. I thought for some reason they were kind of rolling, and Kucherov, he didn't have any goals. He had seven apples. I think this guy lives on an orchard because he's just dishing apps like no big deal. But
cider.
Carter Verhaeghe, like this guy is a playoff guy. Obviously, like we saw it last year. 9 points, 5 goals, 4 assists in that series. But Steven Stamkos, he had 5 goals. He had basically a goal a game. What's going to happen there?
It's a good question. I think he might be done there.
How do you let him go?
Well, I agree. I mean, maybe he wants.
We said that about Claude as well.
But yeah, I guess maybe the difference is T-Bay down in Florida, pretty nice spot to be. You got like a franchise coach like John Cooper.
It's not like he's slowing down.
That's right, and it's not like he hasn't won.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna go pursue. What
are you gonna get? Well, now you can't get anything, right, Baller, unless you trade him. Before the draft. Like sometimes like when we picked up Hartsey and Chemo in a trade, but then we had to sign him. I can't see him not being a Tampa Bay Lightning player unless the business side of it, which we all know, comes into play here.
That's the only thing I can think of, really. But I'm just thinking like what they've established there, the way they've built that organization up. I mean, going back to when I was coaching,
right? Yeah,
against their minor league team, and just seeing them draft and develop and just create this culture. I mean, Cooper was in the minor leagues there at the time, and just see what they've cultivated since then. I mean, knowing that as a captain and a leader, like, why would you want to go somewhere else unless they really don't want to pay you?
Well, I doubt he wants to go anywhere else, but sometimes money talks. But then again, he's made a lot of money.
Well, that's it.
But I guess it's never enough, right?
Yeah.
First, I'm not saying that about it. Stammer's a great guy. Yeah. I don't mean it that way. I just mean, what if someone blows his doors off with some crazy offer?
That's always it. But it's like when you have a situation like that he's in. I'm just thinking of there's not many situations where a guy can be in a space for that long and have the same exact. Well, maybe he's not the same coach because he's had a couple coaches.
He's had a few actually.
Probably a few.
He had Barry Melrose.
Oh, he did, right? Yeah,
he did.
Right. Think about how long he's been in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
Been in the league for a long time.
You forget that he's been around, but he's constantly there.
Yeah.
Even the year when they won and he finally got in the game and he scored. Was it game 7? What game was it? It wasn't game 7, but he played a shift and scored.
Yeah.
It was just like, that was like poetic justice. Yeah. And then he got to raise the cup because he hadn't played. He'd been hurt. But this guy's still lighting a lamp, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a good player, and he's not a pussy.
No, he's not.
He doesn't play soft for a skilled guy. Like, he's always in the mix, but he's fun to watch. And I've been fortunate enough to I know him a little bit and worked with him a little bit with Bauer stuff a few times. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, he is.
So I wish him the best, but man, he came to play in the playoffs again.
Oh, yeah.
and he's proved himself.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, got a nice thing going on there.
It is.
I'm not sure you want to leave Florida.
No, I don't think so.
But
let's move on real quick. Carolina took care of the Islanders. We kind of knew that. I think we even said 5. I may have said 4, but I can't remember exactly. I'm sure Baller will remind me if I'm wrong. But
a couple meltdowns. Islander fans.
Oh, Islander! You were talking about that. What was it you saw?
Well, it was just a clip of a bunch of Islander fans watching the game at a bar. I think it was maybe a Barstool thing. I might have seen it on Spit and Chicklets even.
Okay.
But just to see the the collapse and just see in their eyes like in real time the crumbling of their playoff dreams.
I mean, you got to give Patrick Waugh some credit, man. He got there. From what I've heard about him, he's a pretty in your face type coach.
It looks like it.
But he did turn them around, and they played well down the stretch. They got themselves in. It was a game at least, until in the last game, and then Carolina scores, and then literally 7 seconds they dump the puck in, and then you're done.
It's too much.
It's too much.
That was the clip. That was actually the clip. Of the show. It was just like, everyone just burying their head.
And then Steve, was it Jarvie? Sorry, we were messing around. Seth Jarvis ended up with 3 goals, 4 assists, leading the way there. He had a great regular season as well. I think 33 goals. But that team, they're big and they play hard and they play pretty fast, and their forecheck's unbelievable. The more I watched almost every game. It is relentless. They just go and they go
retrieve
and they go.
Pucks off the forecheck.
It's crazy. And you know, you brought up a stat before we got started here that 12 different players that scored for Carolina. That's pretty impressive. 12 different guys, man. Like that's a lot of players to pitch in a 5-game series.
No kidding. Yeah, you spread that around. That's why they're going to be successful.
It seems like Kuznetsov seemed to be, obviously it's working out, them picking him up. He had 2 goals, but one big one the other night on the and it took him about as long as it takes me at full speed to get down. He takes his time, but man, he just waits and waits.
Oh my God, that's patience.
As soon as the goalie lunges, he's boom in the net. I wanted to see a little bird action. Roddy loves it now.
I was waiting for it.
I know. Freddie Anderson missed a lot of the season still. He ended up with a 9.12 goals or a save percentage, 2.2 goals against, I believe. But he's still playing well. But Rod Brind'Amour, them taking his deal,
what the hell is that?
What could you be thinking unless Roddy went in there and said, I don't want to deal with this, which, he doesn't want to leave. He's been in Carolina forever. Look what he's done for this franchise. I can't understand what's going on.
Why is this coming up now?
But and why now? Why would you throw that out there to the media right now and for your team to see, even though the team probably knows, but
I can't.
Roddy's not. I don't think Roddy's got to go in and be like, "Hey, they took my." He's not about himself at all. That's the last thing Roddy is. Boy, how many teams would jump on that?
Oh my God, it just seems silly. I'd be like, what do you want to get paid? That's what you're getting paid.
What is it you want?
Really?
Like, what do you want?
That should be the conversation. Right?
That's all it is.
I understand you're running a business, but you also got arguably one of the best coaches in the game that clearly proven himself over and over and over again.
How many years does he have to? Yeah, I know they haven't won a cup, but he's a fucking great coach, man. And you heard any players say they don't like him?
No, it's so odd that this would be coming up right now. It's just like
it's crazy,
you
but
don't
anyway,
have the time and space to even begin thinking about this right now.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
But he'll be fine.
He will. Either way, it's going to work out for Hot Rod. That's right. But they win the series 4-1. I think we kind of called that one. Quickly, the Rangers sweep. We kind of knew that. Yeah. Ovi, what was it, Baller? 6 shots on net.
4 games.
Come on. How is that possible?
That's like a low end of a game, average of a game.
Right. Now, I know there's probably shots that miss the net that don't count, or he could even hit the post and doesn't count as a shot on goal, but wow.
Yeah.
I guess give the Rangers some credit too, and Lavi just coached there for 2 years, so it's not like he doesn't know. But I mean, everybody knows where Ovi is, but he still manages to get shots on net. But man, it was kind of what we thought. Yeah. I didn't think they had much of a shot. Shesterkin, .930 save percentage. I mean, under 2 goals a game. You're going to win if your goalie's doing that, 1.75 to be exact. 5 shots, so they just blew my mind. Zibanejad doing his thing. He only had a goal, but 7 points. And Trocheck, man, fucking talking about Carolina again quickly, letting him go.
Yeah.
Like this guy. What a player he is, man. He's done it on a few different teams, but Rangers,
they look good.
They look good. Like Carolina, they're going to play Carolina, so
that'd be an interesting one. Yeah,
be a really good series. See what's going on there.
See how Carolina does against a little more physical team. Get some bodies that can get in your way a little.
I don't think they have an answer to Rempe, but I don't think Rempe wants to fight anyway at this point. Not really have to unless something crazy happens in the playoffs. You usually don't see a fight in the playoffs, and that's fine. You just want to see the play we're seeing, the hard-nosed hits. He did make his presence known. Poor Trevor TVR, our buddy, man. I personally thought it was a hair late. That's just me. But TVR did not know he was in the vicinity, and I'm not. And obviously TVR is he's a hell of a player, and he's a skilled guy, and always has his head on a swivel. He just didn't see him.
How do you not see this guy coming?
I know he's a big guy.
He was coming before he scooped the puck up. and Tom Wilson comes and challenges him after that. And you could see Rempe, like he just wants to play. He's not really looking. He's just playing a physical brand of hockey. He's not looking for tilts.
Right.
Even in that situation, he could easily have fought, but why? You know, just go away.
My thinking is, and I know it's old school, but it's kind of like, and the game's way different. I get it. Just quickly want to say, like, that happens to your player. If I'm Tom Wilson, I'm really watching Panarin, Zibanejad, and those guys don't put themselves in those spots because they're smart players.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to run over one of their guys, one of their. I'm not saying Trav is their number one D man. He's not, but he's on the power play. Like he's a key part of their team. I'm looking to see who I can run over if I'm Tom Wilson.
Yeah,
especially if Rempe doesn't want to answer the bell. That's fine. He doesn't have to because he's just playing.
That's right.
That's legal hit, clean hit.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm Willie, I'm looking. And maybe he was. It's
I'm
not.
sure
it's not
was,
that easy just to find a
perfect
perfect
I'm
scenario.
Sure he was thinking about it.
And Tom's been suspended plenty of times where he thought he had it. But I would take Tom Wilson on my team.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. But anyway, they make quick work of the Caps, and we thought they would. But you got to give the Caps credit and Carberry, their coach, for getting them in down the stretch. Man, they played the way they had to play, and they got in. But should be an interesting series. My favorite series, Boston-Toronto. Looked like Toronto was done.
I thought so.
Down 3-1. They come back the other night to Boston.
Pesky Leafs.
Now
Kiefer's got him going. Marner's back.
Like, we do have to talk about this for a second. It shocked me that it was a guy like Willie to say that to Marner. I totally agree. I think you brought it up last week where he went around he just won't put himself in those positions. We talked about that. We don't have to get into all that, but the fact that went viral, stop being a baby, stop crying, whatever he said. This isn't junior anymore. Well, it is true. I mean, and then we saw our good friend Jay Rosehill, who's under our umbrella with the Nation Network and everything, and Hockey Fights, lose his mind.
Oh, yeah.
I texted him. I was like, dude, I'm howling right now. It was
so
the night,
good.
After the game, the post-game thing, and he was on one. I don't know if Baller wants to throw that up, but a little bit of that, but it was pretty comical.
I look at Mitch Marner and the breakdown on some of his shifts, and all I can think is, who do you think you are? Are you too good to stop and start? Are you too good to get back into your fucking position? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Are you too good to try? Do you expect everything in your life just to be given to you because your daddy has told you that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread since you were 5? Who do you think you are? I watch these shifts. You want $14 million a year to play, and this is how you show it? You just expect everything? You just expect everything? You expect everything to happen? You expect everything to be given to you? You chicken shit? Who do you think you are, you entitled little prick? You don't even have the guts to fucking try, because you might try and come up short and fail. That's what that shows me. You insecure baby. All you do is bitch and float and look around for the easy way to go.
I'd be worried if I said shit like that, but I'm not Jay Rosehill. I'm not tough. like Rosie, but no,
definitely didn't hold back.
No, he did not hold back, and you have to agree with.
I agree. It just takes a lot of passion about one player to be unloading.
But I think he's not the only guy that's finally probably seen enough. But let me ask you this quickly: if you're a GM, you're another team. You've watched more. Obviously, he's going to get you his points in the regular season. I still don't understand it, but he gets his points. But when it comes to this time of the year, I don't know him. I don't want to call him, but he plays a little scared or safe, whatever you want to say. So you're a GM. Do you want this guy because he's so good and you know you're going to have a good regular season? But then is he going to disappear in the playoffs? Like, what do you do there? Like, because someone's going to take it.
Oh, for sure.
If you want to trade him, now, even with his money. But it's like Rosie made a point. Like, you want to make $14 million and you're doing that in the playoffs, dude. Forget it. And he makes, what's he make? Baller 11? It's I don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna have to increase his care level to get that 14. I mean, especially in playoff times, because he's gonna get his cookies throughout the year. He's such a skilled guy, but it's a different animal in playoffs, and you get exposed when you don't go into the hard areas, and that's what's happening right now. It's just becoming clear as day, and people are calling him out on it. And it's not the first time, and it happens every.
It seems to happen every year.
Every year, and at some point, you gotta you gotta sign guys, trade for guys to fill in your roster spots. But like knowing what you got, but like he's one of those guys. If you're gonna inherit him, or you're gonna trade for him, or however that lands up playing out. You got to know what this guy's all about and his warts, and I wouldn't expect a whole lot more any other situation he goes into.
That's right.
He's going to be the same guy. I mean, he goes to different team playoffs. Like, do you see him competing any harder? Like, what would be the variable there that would make him go all of a sudden?
Right.
You know?
No, I agree. That's my point. That's why I was asking you. I don't know what you're thinking if you're a GM, or do you think you have a coach that can get him to do that? I feel like if he had a coach like Torts, just in I'm just using him as an example, like
he might have quit under Torts.
He would quit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the way it looks, I don't know that, but I do want to say, like, quickly about the Wall stepped in. They threw him in, and what a game he played. He gives up one goal. They end up winning that game in overtime without Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I know.
Who only has a goal, and I don't know, Baller. I don't know if we talked about it, Debo. Did you see the guy that said, "Hey, you got your 70th goal"?
Oh,
he's like, what did he say? I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah.
But he's got 1 goal and 2 assists. You need Austin Matthews to score more than that. And he missed last game. He's played 4 games. But Max Domi has played really well.
Yeah.
And he had a great chance. He came down. You see him shaking and baking, lifting the leg, and he made a sweet sauce pass. But Swayman, man, me and Baller were talking earlier, like, does Monty go back with Olmark? I don't know how you do. Like, I mean, to me, Swayman, like, the way he's played, he just looks like he's so big. It reminds me of Nuvi. You're going to laugh, but Neuwirth, when he was on his game, people are going to be like, you out of your fucking mind. When that guy was ready to play and on, everything hit him here. When Swayman, it looks like everything, he's always there. He's never really out of position. I say that, knock wood, because I want them to win. But the guy's played amazing. Like, he's got a .952 save percentage.
I know.
And it's 3-2. Now, Olmark lost one of the games, but holy cow, man. Like, you're getting that kind of goaltending. They need to finish this off tonight, because Baller thinks T.O.'s coming back. They may. I don't want that, because, JV, you get too many buddies on that for me. You're a Canadian, so maybe you feel different, but it's going to be a big game tonight. I'm actually super jacked to watch it.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was listening to Ryan Whitney on Spit and Chicklets, just one of his clips, talking about that storyline with Swayman, having the Maple Leafs telling him that they were going to draft him and passing him, and then the next, they grab the goalie. I forget what his name is. I don't think he's played. And then the next pick is Boston, and they grab him. So it's like,
he
shove it up their ass big time, and here we are. It's interesting, some of these storylines. The guys hold in the back of their minds, obviously,
for sure. He's thinking about it. Maybe not first thing, but it's there, like you said.
Yeah. So, and he's obviously an unbelievable
competitor,
goalie.
Man. You want to shove it up people's ass.
Totally,
like, how many times you definitely want to do that. So that basically covers the East. Quickly, if we just talk about the West. I have been watching.
I've been out cold.
Yeah, I know. I know you watch the highlights and see everything, though. But the Avs did it in 5 games.
Yeah, not shocked.
I'm not really shocked either. I know Winnipeg had a great season, but I think the one thing we got to talk about is Hellebuck. Holy cow, 5.2 something a game, 2-3 a game goals. Like, no one expected that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even blame him totally. Like, Colorado. I mean, when they step it up,
they're in a different league.
God, man, McKinnon's got 9 points, and he only got 2 goals, but he's just so powerful and so fast. I mean, those guys, Nichushkin was 7 goals in 5 games, man. Like, no helpers. Just shoot.
No, he's just shooting.
He's like you. He's a shooter. He's a shooter. But that game, there was so much buildup because of Winnipeg's year, and anyway, that's over with. Oilers did it in 5. Kind of saw that coming. I was actually shocked that the Kings grabbed a win in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And then the 1-0 game with that surprise. I'm sure everyone betting had the over.
Oh, God.
you get the 1-0 game, but they come through. I mean, Jesus, he's not bad.
Oh my gosh,
12 points.
Him and Draisaitl.
1 goal. He only has 1 goal, but dude, him and
Tackety.
Draisaitl, it's insane watching those guys. Dreisy's got had 5 goals, 5 helpers.
And make it look easy.
Bouchard had 9 points.
Kind of like you and I in pond hockey, just
tic-tac. Just ticky-tack. Just ticky-tack-toe.
Who's the shooter?
Well, I guess you.
Yeah,
I dish. You saw my shot. Well, you didn't see him the other night, but not pretty. The Dallas-Vegas series, boy, did that take a turn. Vegas walks into the Big D, and I don't mean, and I do mean Dallas. He walks in there, wins the first 2. You got to think it's over. Like I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit. And they bounced back with 3 wins. Jake Ottinger, this kid, man. Save he made late last night in the game. Got his leg over. Thompson had to break away there. Wow. I came off the couch, actually, with that one. But what really stands out to me, Riggs, quickly with Dallas is their best players are their young players.
Yeah.
I mean, this Wyatt Johnson's got 3 goals, 3 assists. He's 20 years old, and then obviously Jason Robertson's been doing it for a while, but he's got 3 goals, 2 assists. But guys like Tyler Seguin is playing so fucking hard. Not that I'm not saying he's ever been soft. He's not soft, but man, he's digging in. Like, hey, man, I'm coming near the. I'm not saying he's almost done, but he's getting older. Jamie Ben's always going to give you everything he's got. But
that hit.
Oh the back-to-back ball. You got to throw that up. Oh my God, 2 great hits.
Oh man, those are blow-ups.
Those were amazing. And but just how that worked out. It's almost like when I saw it, the first hit, I'm like, fuck, great hit.
Yeah.
And then Ben comes out of the fucking, don't even see him on screen, sends McNabb flying. And I thought it was perfect, just like your first hit in your game against the Islanders, where it just kind of worked out.
It's perfect.
It could have been more perfect. If I'm McNabb, I'm kind of looking around a little bit. I blow a guy up.
Ben didn't have to change any direction at all.
No.
It was just keep going full speed.
No. Anyway, it's been a great series. They did throw Aiden Hill back in Vegas. Be interested to see what they do. And he definitely wasn't to blame last night. It was a great game. They're up 3-2. Go back to Vegas, I think, tomorrow night. So that'll be an interesting game. That's that building, man. They went in. I couldn't believe they went in there and won 2. That's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
And so is Dallas, actually.
Yeah,
so it's one of those crazy series. I'll never forget quickly when I was my first year with the Flyers. We had Craig McTavish, and we lost the first 2 games to the Devils. And I'm kind of all upset. Mac T's walking down the hallway, and he goes, "See you tomorrow, Deke." He called me Deke too. Hexy. Him and Hexy called me Deke. He goes, "See you tomorrow, Deke." And I'm like, all right. I give him a fist. He goes, "Hey, what's wrong?" And I was like, well, we're down 2-0. He goes, "We'll go there and win 2. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal." There's a guy, it's 1 cup. And I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, right. We went there and won 2. Yeah. But then we ended up losing the series in 6. But anything's possible, obviously. Know that with being down 0-3 back in the day. Love bringing that up.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the greatest feelings ever. But last one, Vancouver Nashville's been a good series as well. Their Van's up 3-2.
I don't know
where Debo's guys been.
He's sleeping.
Debo, get that pen back out. You were talking earlier. Let's go. Get the vapesy out. No, but but to me, it's amazing. Vans had to go through 3 goalies.
I know.
That's something you don't really want to have happen when you're in the playoffs. But your boys Archer Zerbe, Archer Silovs is going 1-1. Casey DeSmith 1-1. And your boy Thatcher Demko is 1-0. So, Debo, who's in?
Probably DeSmith.
DeSmith. He's saying Carson DeSmith is back. Casey. Fuck away. It's a joke. Sorry, it's an inside joke. Casey DeSmith back in. So this series has been fun to watch.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Nashville's surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought that Vancouver would have.
Yeah, I did too. But I mean,
up.
I watched a little bit of Nashville during the season, and they're a pretty damn good team.
Well, they are.
They don't have a ton of huge names. I mean, obviously Yossi on the back end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an absolute stud. And, you know, you signed Ryan O'Reilly, who's, I mean, the guy's still unbelievable player. But anyway, and Luke Shen. You can't forget our boy Shen.
Yeah, no, they do actually. Yeah,
And
some pretty good piece. Yeah, some veteran presence.
Not Peter.
Not Peter.
Not Peter.
He's making a comeback, though.
The other 2-1, Lots and FOPA returns, my dad's call us, so we know that. But anyway, it's been awesome, man. It's my favorite time of the year, so fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
We got a guest coming on that knows
We
a little
do.
bit about
Just a little bit.
Knows a little bit about it. We're going to ask him some
Inside
questions.
scoops.
Yeah.
All right, now it's ready to go?
Ready to roll.
All right. Episode 156, Anthony SanFilippo. Let's go.
Let's go.
This segment is brought to you by Bet365, a proud partner of Nasty Knuckles. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code HOCKEYCA, all caps. What do you think about that, Nast?
Well, I'll tell you what, Bet365 is the largest sports betting platform globally. It's easy to navigate and tons of options, and I love using it.
Here we go.
Let's go.
Welcome back. I'm Riley Cote.
And I'm Derek Settlemeyer, and this week we are super excited to have a good friend, guy I've known for a long time, you as well.
Yep.
20 years. Host of a great podcast, Snow The Goalie. Flyers insider for many, many years. Also a writer for Crossing Broad for the Phillies and the Flyers.
Yeah.
And most importantly, a full-time dad, 24/7, 365. That's the best job to have, as we know.
Yeah.
Debo and Baller don't know that yet, unless
yet.
they haven't told us something. But please welcome to the show, Anthony SanFilippo. Thank you, brother, for your time. What's up, bro?
Absolutely. Good to be here. It's finally good to be on your show. I mean, we've had Riley on our show. We've had you on our show separately, but for the first time, I get to come on yours, so that's a good thing.
Well, we appreciate you,
appreciate
man.
it.
You do a hell of a job. Like I said,
Thank
we've
you.
been buddies for a long time. Always respected your work and always
Thank you.
have always done a great job. And you tell the truth, the hard truth sometimes, and that's can't be easy. I know that because there's a lot of things I'd like to say that I just still can't.
Right.
But honestly, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Sure. Love it. Especially here in the off season, right? I mean, there's a lot still going on. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're talking before the show here that my first interview in Philly in 2004, 2005 lockout was with you. And
Yes.
how crazy that is. Come full circle, and here we are.
Well, you know, the funny thing about it
Bucking it
was,
up.
I remember, Riles, is that we go back to that first time we talked to you, and even for a few interviews thereafter, you couldn't look us in the eye. Every time you talked with your eyes down like this the whole time. You never said, but now you're like the most personable guy out there. It's like you're the easiest guy to talk to. It's amazing how things change over time. Like you were just so kind of need to do your job, head down kind of guy, even when you talked. And now all of a sudden, now you're retired. It's like, yeah, man, I can just talk about anything now. It'd be fun about it.
Yeah, a little different animal back then. I'm not sure I actually knew how to communicate properly. So the eye contact and like you said, I was probably just so in the zone and worrying about who knows what at the time. But
yeah,
big guys.
Right. My next fight. Yeah,
Ant didn't. I probably never showed Ant your sticks that you came with. That might have been something that had you a little
could have been a story.
And you were looking down. I've said this 100 times. People are sick of hearing it. Hartford's his first.
Yeah,
he
it was
joins
in
us in Hartford. He didn't play that night. You got a good little story about the next night at Bridgeport, but. I remember someone dropped his gear off, and I was at in whatever they call the mall.
The mall,
the mall in Hartford before our first game, and so I get his gear. So I'm like, all right, let me hang it up, and then I open up, and he's got some blades in there because some guys had the 2-piece at the time. And I pull this blade out, and I'm like, is he left-handed or right-handed? Because this blade was straight. So I couldn't wait to meet this guy. You know, and obviously we've become best buds. Like we did right away. Actually, we just kind of
bonded
clicked
over the shafts and the blades.
I said, hey, Ryle's like, what do we got going here? You lefty or righty? He starts laughing. He goes, coming from the Central League, man, or something like
Throw
that.
me a bone. Yeah.
I'm like, I got sticks for you, bro. Don't worry. We'll get you something that has a curved left or right-handed, either whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a whole new world for you, right?
Oh,
Going up to the A, right? It's a whole new world.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Get rid of the two-piece, right into the one-piece.
Right into the onesie.
Yeah.
Well, with those mitts, you know.
Oh, yeah. We didn't have the same budget down in the Central League, you know?
No, not at all. But and tell us a story real quick about the next night there.
So the whole weekend was actually, it was, to be honest, it was the first time I was traveling as a full-time beat writer. I had traveled to the playoffs the season before with the Flyers in 2004 on my own dime. Because I was writing for Comcast Sportsnet.com at the time, and at the time they didn't have a real budget for they weren't even paying the writers. Like, I was just doing it for free. But I wanted people to know who I was, so I paid for my own way to go to Toronto and to go to Tampa and those playoffs. And so that's how I got the gig, the full-time gig. And so this is the first time I'm really traveling. So I didn't know what to do, and it was the AHL season because of the lockout. And so me and Tim Panaccio, who was at the Inquirer at the time, we decided he says, ride with me. I'll teach you how to do stuff on the road. Like, okay, great. Well, first night we're in Hartford, and they didn't have a press box. So the press was seated like at tables on the walkway around between the first level and the second level of the stadium. And he was so worried that like his computer was going to get stolen. So like he like made this security guard, went and got this security guard and positioned him there to guard our stuff, which I'm like, do we have to do this all the time?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. Right. But the best part of the story was the next game was you guys were in Bridgeport, and Panache drove, and we're in this separate lot that was like, it was near the stadium, but not really. I kind of felt like it was a kind of a shady thing because the sign was written in like magic marker to pay to park there, right? And so we parked there, but I guess they're not used to reporters staying late, you know, writing their stories. So we're not leaving the stadium till almost midnight. We go out to the car, and the whole thing's locked up. And we're like, how the hell are we going to get the car out? So Panache was like, just get in the car. So I'm like, all right. So we made our way in. We found like a doorway to walk in. And then there's this small little fence. And he decides, I'm going to go right through it. And in his car, not even a rental, it's his car, goes right through the fence. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we're doing this. This is what life on the road is like? Oh my God. So yeah, that was my first experience with traveling in the NHL.
Oh,
wow.
man.
That's insane. Any damage to the car?
No, not really. He was like, I'll just get this Inquirer to pay for it.
Yeah,
that's what he was
exactly.
Typical Panache.
Yeah, I guess the alternative is getting hemmed in Bridgeport.
Yeah,
which was not the greatest place to be.
No,
it's not. It's funny, you know, I was just thinking as you were saying that, I used to, like, the bus would drop the gear off and you guys would go back, so I would stay and I like to straighten everything up. Every night, like, it'd be like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning by the time I was done, right? Whatever time we got there. And I would go out the back door, which was by their locker room. I'd walk down this hallway, and I literally, because I'd have my bag left on the bus, and the bus driver would leave it at the front desk, and I sprinted back because I was scared to death. I'm not putting Bridgeport down, but at that time of night in that area, it's not rough, it's a rough area.
Yes.
And I literally was like the Flash. I sprinted, and I'm not kidding. I sprinted the whole way. I'd be like out of breath when I got to the hotel, but I'm like, I'm not walking for sure. I'm just sprinting. Maybe I think I took something or something. I don't know. Nobody mess with me.
Just pray and
I literally must have done that for 5-6 times.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. Can you imagine Panache? Did he have a helmet at least?
You would think. I was glad I had the seatbelt on. I'm not going to go through the window or something like that.
Oh man, that's
good times. That year, man, was something else.
It was.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's so funny. It's been 20 years. We're approaching the 20th anniversary of that season.
It's hard to believe.
Right? It's crazy to think 20 years ago. But what a fun year. And I didn't think it was going to be, because I remember I got the job as the full-time writer at the Daily Times, and I remember saying, oh man, my luck, I get to do the first season of my job and there's a lockout and I don't get to cover the league. And then the AHL turned out to be a pretty damn good league that year because it was so many NHL caliber players playing down. And it was like, holy cow, this was a lot of fun. And I got to try. I still think, I don't know this is 100% certainty, but I'm pretty close. I'm pretty sure I'm close. I think I'm the only writer in the history of the AHL to travel to every game.
Wow.
In the season. I think that one season I didn't miss a game that year. I went to every road game you guys went to.
That is crazy. That's amazing. And you're right. That year was awesome. I mean, of course we won, so it made it very awesome. But I mean, we had that streak that
start the season.
Norfolk ended up beating us out.
Yeah,
they won so many games in a row. Like, we just had a great team.
That streak ended in Syracuse, which was another one of the crazy arenas that I've ever been to.
Yep.
The press box, you had to like climb a ladder to get in the press box.
Yeah, right.
War
Memorial
in Syracuse. There was one in Cincinnati that had a stage at the end of the arena. Mm-hmm. Right? That's Cincinnati, right? I'm not wrong. I mean, there were such fun places to go that season. Like, I was just wild. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was quite the year.
Cincinnati, that's right.
A lot of good guys on that team.
Yeah, great group of guys. The chemistry, just the league in general.
The league was really good. The league was really good. I was getting ready to say, I forgot what I was going to say now, and you brought that up. Oh, well, that's okay. Sorry. Crazy year with the Flyers. I mean, it was wild. There's a lot of things we can talk about here, but first off, just want to get your thoughts on the Flyers season.
I look at it and I say, how is this not considered a success when you look at it from a 1,000-foot view? I mean, you had the whole situation with Carter having to leave the team. You traded one of your best defensemen at the deadline and then lost three other guys, the defensemen, to injury. Right. Okay, and you had guys coming back off of injury like Couturier and Atkinson. You didn't know what you were going to get out of those guys, and a bunch of young players, and you still had a shot on game 82 in making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, how is that not a success?
Right.
Yes, there was an 8-game collapse at the end of the season, and there needs to be some accountability for it. No question about it. But in the grand scheme of things, when you consider where they were in October to where they finished, that's a huge step forward.
Man.
Yeah, I think we agree with that fully. I mean, it was probably the most exciting year, in 4 years. It's like they got the identity back, the culture back, right? Guys are buzzing, the city's buzzing, right? I mean, everyone is excited about the Flyers.
Yeah.
And then, you come down to the last 8 games, and unfortunately it goes the way it goes. But there's, like, to your point, there's so many different sub-storylines there that obviously had a huge impact on
and not even just the stuff on the ice, guys. Like, I mean, if you've been in the arena, like, people cared again.
Yeah. Right.
And that mattered. Like, to me, that's a big step forward.
Yeah.
Because this organization was in a spot before Jonesy and Danny came in, and Dan Hilferty, that they were rendered irrelevant. Like, nobody cared. We're sitting around doing podcasts talking about a team that nobody cared about.
That's right.
Exactly.
And it's like, now all of a sudden people care again. Well, that to me is a win.
Yeah.
No matter what the outcome was on the ice, that in and of itself is a victory for the organization.
No, I couldn't agree more with you. And it's great. I love you guys do such a great job too. But now you're at the games. Yeah. I mean, you're there. That's a long day.
It is.
That's a long day for you guys. But I enjoy listening to you guys and watching. So you're really around it. Like, we go to the games, but we're like, you guys. I mean, I go to the game and watch with my son. I'm paying attention, but you've got to you got to be on while you're there.
Be on. Yeah. You're working.
You're working.
Yes.
But it's cool that you guys are doing that, and you see a lot there. And I saw Mr. Hilferty jump on there with you guys, and it's so nice to have, not putting anyone down, but it's just so nice to have someone that fucking cares.
Yes.
That gives a shit about Philadelphia, about the fans, and about the Flyers.
And I could say this, and I don't mind saying this publicly. Like, we had a situation prior to this current management group where we actually went and sat in, and I sat in with the people who were running the team, telling them, here's what you're missing. Take a look at this. I know none of you are from Philadelphia. Like, take a look at this. These are things you should be highlighting. I was giving them free advice.
Right.
And they completely ignored it and rather tried to subvert what we were doing and try and diminish and say, oh, you just got a former player who got fired who's not happy in Bundy.
Right.
Oh, Anthony used to work for the team. Oh, he's got an axe to grind. But that wasn't it at all.
Right.
Not at all. Like, I mean, you see now. I mean, do we have an axe to grind now?
No.
We don't.
No.
It was the people that were running it. And I think that was the issue. We were trying to explain to them at first, you're doing this wrong. And then when they completely dismissed it for so long, then it became like, all right, well, we're just going to tell everybody you're doing it wrong.
Right.
That's really how it was.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, it was in some of the comments that they would make, those people. Like, you're just like,
it's awful.
Why are you saying that out loud? Like, well, we're going to change. We're going to do things. Whoa, you shouldn't change anything to Mr. Snyder said here, or any Flyers standards that there were. The fact that the things that they were doing and the comments about him, it just drove me nuts. And here I'm sitting here still under contract, and I know we've talked about this before, which he gave me some of my best news. I won't get into that, but one day he sent me a little text, and he said, "You'll have a great morning tomorrow." But I had bite my tongue, as you know, and I still have, but it's so nice.
Yes.
The point is so refreshing, and like you said, people care again, and it's awesome.
And that matters.
And it does matter big time, yeah. Because you guys were just saying what all the fans were thinking at the time. And, and now on the other side of it is like the product itself has now gotten the fans back.
And look, there are still people out there who have not bought in.
Oh, sure.
Right. I mean, there's still work to do.
Yes.
Right. There are still people who are very skeptical, doubting Thomas's that this is actually going to work to do it this way. But I think you bought yourself enough of a lane. To get there.
Yes.
To bring those people ultimately back in, into the fold again, by doing it this way. So I give Jonesy and Hilferty and Danny Briere a lot of credit in that regard.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. Like I said, you and Russ and Bundy. It's funny. Like, thank God you guys are there to keep him calm, because he doesn't get wound up at all.
Bundy's become one of my best friends, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times during the week there are talk him off the ledge moments. Like, whether it be either it's text or get him on the phone, whatever. He is a character and a half when he gets emotional about things, man. It's great. But that's what I love about him. That's what brings, we stumbled into that in a lot of ways. Like, I was always close with Bundy. We had him on the show once. It was like, man, he was really good.
Yeah.
And it was like, Russ and I said to Russ, I said, I should talk to him and see if he wants to do this more regularly. And we were originally thinking about making it like a once a month kind of appearance kind of thing, whatever. And then he's like, I do this with you guys all the time if you're interested. And we're like, really?
Yeah, hell
yeah. And it was worked out perfect, and now it's like we hang out with him and Nicole and me and Maria and Russ and Nancy. Like, we all kind of get together.
That's
and
awesome.
It's great, and he's been a big reason for the success of our podcast. For sure.
He's good, and he is not. It's one thing, you could say whatever you want, but he will tell you like it is, and what he's feeling. And there's times where I wish I could, but I love it anyway. So wanted to ask you also, like, what were your thoughts about Coots? You hear anything about him changing agents?
Well, I think that there's some unique stuff with that, right? I mean, what we'll end up seeing what happens there. I don't have anything solid that I can talk about publicly yet, but I think that there's a reason that you switch. Look, you got to keep in mind, his former agent was the son of Gilles Lupien, who was a famous agent, right? And then it was his son kind of took over, but Coots was his only NHL client.
Right.
And then, of course, he came out and said some stuff during the whole thing when Coots got benched, which I think is a whole real thing that needs to be talked about, because I think that impacted that room
100%
greatly. Okay. So him switching over to Pat Brisson, who knows everybody, maybe he's the biggest, probably, I guess he's the power broker of the NHL. Right. And Pat, it should be noted, is Danny Briere's agent. Right. So there's something to that too. The question is, what does that lead to? Is that being done to try and create a better relationship with the Flyers?
Right.
Or is that being done to say, hey, maybe this is the time to try and find a different place for me to play, and let's see what that ends up being. I think it's still too early in the offseason to really determine what that's like.
Right.
But if Danny now wants to kind of look around and see would it make sense to maybe find Coots somewhere else and do right by him? I mean, they're like brothers.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
You're talking about a different relationship here with Danny Briere and Sean Couturier than you would with any other GM player.
He lived with him.
They live together, right? I mean,
exactly.
that's and Coots is like an uncle to his kids, right? I mean,
exactly.
That kind of thing. So it's a different kind of relationship. So they're not going to screw him over by any stretch of the imagination. So they're going to do right by him. But maybe having an agent like Pat Brisson, who has great relationships with 30 teams, changes the way things go for this. And look, if you get out from business is business sometimes.
Yeah.
And if maybe you
You're
look
right.
at it and say, you know, hey, he came back and looked great for 40 games, but boy, did he fall off at the end. Do we want to have that for 6 more years?
Right.
If we get out from under this contract in some way, maybe it makes the rebuild go a little bit faster. Who knows?
Yeah,
Right.
You know, so it's something maybe you kind of explore. Not to say it's definitely going to happen.
Exactly.
But it's something that you certainly explore, and having Pat Brisson behind it kind of helps that a little
Yeah,
bit.
makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, however it plays out, it's probably a wise move at this stage of his career, right? Just
Correct.
having
Correct.
a little more communication, well, with the
Yeah.
parent team, the Flyers, and
Yeah.
exploring maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think Coots was playing hurt.
Yes.
Well, everybody kind of knows it, but I don't want to speak out of school.
No, well, Danny came on our show and said that he played through 5 different injuries that were not his back.
Right.
So it was 5
right.
other injuries
Yes.
that he was playing through, right?
Right.
So there's that too, and so I think that also plays into the we're benching Coots thing. Like, how dare you bench the guy
Right.
who's being a warrior in essence,
Exactly.
and playing through what he's playing
And
through.
I think to your point, like you
Yeah.
said, there weren't a lot of players happy about
No.
that situation.
No,
I don't think
right.
that's something people don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you read comments and I know like people like to just throw shit out there like just to do it, but
Yeah.
with 2 posts and no, like they just make up a thing to say something, but like I just don't think you scratch Coots.
Yeah.
You don't.
If he's able to play, even he's first of all, you just named him your captain,
Right.
He's plays hurt for you. He's playing on the 4th line, not playing a ton of minutes, but if it's a 2-1 game, you're up and you got a defensive end draw who's taking it.
It should be him. And you mean to tell me, and this is no offense to guys like Ollie Licksell,
Right.
who goes into the lineup,
Yep.
you'd rather have Ollie Licksell on the ice than Sean Couturier, especially as you're trying to make the playoffs.
You're trying to make the playoffs.
I mean, that's what. So, like, I think that was a tactic. I'm going to do 2 things on Torts with this. That's a tactic you use when your team is this close to winning a championship,
Right.
And maybe if say, all right, I can bench him, I can bench everybody, and you got a veteran team, and they rally behind it to hate the coach, whatever. A young team, they don't know how to handle that.
Right.
Yeah.
What's their response to that? They're sitting there going, oh shit, like if I make a mistake, am I the next guy out? And then you play a little bit nervous, right?
Right.
So like to me, that's where that's a mistake, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that there's a lot that went wrong with the Coots thing that
Yeah.
you don't do it. You don't name him a captain and then start taking away. Torts, the other thing I wanted to say was when he won his Stanley Cup, who was his captain? Dave Andreychuk.
Oh, that's right. Dave Andreychuk.
Dave Andreychuk was not a top-tier player at
Right.
that point in his career. That's
right.
He was a third-line
That's right.
center, right?
That's right.
Like, that's exactly the kind of role that Coots was in. Did he ever bench Dave Andreychuk on the run to the Stanley Cup?
No.
Like, no. Like, I mean, you could have him play a more diminished role and still not embarrass the guy like that
Right.
Yeah.
publicly.
And for Coots, like we've talked about this, you've known Coots since he's been here. Riley and I have known him. Great person.
Incredible.
Not very vocal. You know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
he's not the loudest guy in the room, like Jakey Voracek. Wherever you are. But Coots to say to you guys, to the media, I'm not real happy the way I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
For him to say that, because he is a team guy.
Yeah.
His dad played. He knows how to be. He's been a pro since he was 18. For God's sakes. I mean, he's acted like a professional.
Correct.
Even though he was a kid. But that to me, when he said that, I was like, wow. And then, I like you guys, we know a lot of the guys. We talked
Right.
to them, and it was not great.
No, it was not.
It was not great. And
Yeah.
and I don't know about you, Ant, but like we talked about this. I got really concerned the second Montreal game when it just did not look like the team we had seen all year. But then the next day in Columbus, I was like, whoa. And I said at the Lots, I was like, wow, like that scared me.
Yeah.
And I said, something's not right here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that's when we knew.
Yeah.
That's when we all knew that they were going to fall out of this.
Yeah.
They weren't going to get it right.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: you have a relationship with Torts. Like, you know Torts better than we do.
I was going to say, did you ask him?
Is it a relationship?
Did you ask him about it?
That's a unique relationship.
Yeah,
that I have with him, right?
But like, you've been following him for a while. You know, been around the team. Like, he's obviously a very strategic guy. Some stuff is very pre-calculated.
Yes.
So for something like this specific example, scratching Torts, like, is this one of these, like, scratching Coots? Is this something that Torts is like stewing on, really trying to, to do something to shake up the squad, or is this like roll up one day to the rink and just feel, like on a whim? Like,
yeah, I don't think he's ever an on the whim guy when it comes to making decisions for his team. He might be an off the cuff speaker.
Yeah.
Right? Behind a microphone, he may say some stuff that's like, maybe he thinks about after the fact, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And he even had the apology to Felix Sandstrom this year, right? Because that was a little bit more off the cuff. But when it comes to making decisions for your roster, I think it's very calculated. Yeah. And I think, it's interesting. Think about when the decision to name Coots captain happened. Immediately thereafter, his minutes start to go down. Yeah. Then he gets demoted to the fourth line. Then he gets scratched, right? What's he doing there? Like to me, that's an entire calculated coaching process.
You think it was that calculated? Hey, wow.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Like, and look, I'm not trying to say that Coots was like playing well and, oh my God, how dare you do this to the guy. The guy was struggling. I mean, there's no question. Like, he had hit a wall. They overused him. To get to where they were. He had to play 21, 22 minutes a night, and the body just broke down after not having played for 2 years. Right. So that kind of thing can happen. So okay, fine, you have to understand that, but at the same time, don't embarrass the guy.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
that's where I had a problem with it.
Yeah,
like, you want to put him on the fourth line and play him 12 minutes. I get it. But he's still your captain. He's still on the ice. He's still in the room. He's still representing the team. And I think that there's a lot to that. And that got lost.
Well, yeah, and I think you could minimize his minutes and still maintain that relationship with him, right? And then show the team that you're still supporting the guy. Correct. You're not pulling him out of the lineup and making him feel like an ass.
Correct.
And then I guess the next question is like, leading up to when they announced him being captain, again, like, it sounded like that was just like Torts rolling in the rink one day and say, today we're going to name a captain. Like, Jonesy and Danny had really no clue.
Well, I think that there's more. Yes, I do think that Torts decided when it was going to happen, but I do think that Jonesy and Danny I think they probably had pushed for Coots sooner, and Torts was like, no, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And
then it's like, on my time now, here it is.
I think he looked at it and said, okay, now we're gonna make this push for the playoffs. We need somebody to kind of be that leader in the locker room. And it was, okay, it's going to be Sean Couturier.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was something else to it. I don't know, but
that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. When Riles and I talked about it, we were like, and I did talk to a few of the guys afterward, within the last 2 weeks about it, not right when it happened. But I thought, in my mind, I'm like, is Torts pissed because they made him name him captain? And he had been saying for the last 2 seasons, we're not going to even name a captain next year, so don't ask me. And that's what I said to Riles. I'm like, I wonder if he's just pissed off. But then you're saying you think they all kind of agreed on it.
Well, I think it's, again, like, what I think it is that I think it's more of a situation, and you're probably not wrong with your first suggestion. It's just that I think that, they were pushing for it, and then he finally said, okay, now's the time.
Okay.
But if we're going to do it, it's going to be under the way I want it done.
Right.
And I'm going to start making him not play. And he's going to start saying, well, you're going to be my captain? Fine. You want him to be the captain? He's going to be the captain. But now I'm going to push him. And that's what he does. He pushes the buttons, and he pushed hard and pushed hard and pushed hard, and it finally got to the point where he broke Coots to come out and say he wasn't happy because he took him out of the lineup, and that's maybe pushing too hard.
Right.
So that's why I think it's a combination of but at the same time, he decided when it was going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine how it would have played out too if you would have just had a heart-to-heart with Coots and said, obviously your performance has dropped a little bit. Maybe we'll just not play you the next couple of days, but just like rest. And it's just more of this maintenance day.
Something, how they throw that shit out there
all the time.
At least it's not where he's scratched. Yeah, I'm scratching my.
Like, then it just opens up a whole other can of worms, especially with your teammates, and like that's to me where you really start losing guys. It's who cares what the fans think or the media says? Yeah, but it's the core group of guys in that locker room that got to deal with it.
And they did it earlier in the year. I mean, How many times have you heard guys are sick?
Yeah.
They're nursing injuries and can't play. Let's be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I mean, I think Jamie Drysdale, right after he got here, they announced him as being sick for a couple games, missed 2 games, and he was out for a week. He wasn't sick for a week.
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
he was nursing an injury. And so it's the same thing. Like, you could have done that very easily.
Easily.
Coots is not feeling well. He needs to be out of the lineup for 2 games. Okay, fine. Yeah. And then the player would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right? You're not making me look bad in public. This is kind of going the complete opposite direction. It's a complete 180, and it's like, what have I done wrong to this organization to have my name dragged through the mud like this?
Right.
Yeah.
That's like, to me, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I agree, and I think that, as you pointed out, maybe had a lot to do with the collapse.
Yes.
And, some people are like, oh, these guys can't be put. It's like you said, it's the respect factor.
Yes.
And I think as a former player, Riley, and I've seen, I was lucky enough to do the job for 26 years, and when a coach doesn't show respect, because the coach wants to be respected, right? They're not always liked. Not everyone's going to like the coach, right? But if there's a respect there, I feel like you may have lost Coots' respect there, and a lot of the players, from what I was told, I'm not in there,
right?
But I'm sure you heard the same.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I look at it, and I'll make a comparison to what the Phillies did last year in baseball. Okay, here's a guy, Taijuan Walker, pitcher, who first year with the team, they signed him to a $72 million contract. He pitches all year. They don't like the way he's pitching at the end of the year. They decide they're not going to use him in the playoffs. He didn't pitch 1 inning in the playoffs, but they kept him on the roster. Right? They didn't take him off the playoff roster to put some minor league player in his place. And he may not have been happy about the fact that he didn't pitch in the playoffs,
right?
But they respected him enough as a professional,
right,
as a member of the team, to keep him on the roster. In case of emergency, he was going to pitch,
right?
But he wasn't going to. That's how you treat your players and keep them respecting you as a manager or a coach. I think that would have been a much better path. Limit his minutes, only play him in certain situations, whatever, other than taking him out of the lineup.
Yeah, agreed. I guess this leads us to the question of, is Torts still the head coach next year?
Well, I mean, Hilf came on our show and said 100% he is.
That was still, with how many games left? It
was right at the end of the season, right? He came on, he had a couple games left in the season. He came on and said it's going to happen.
Right.
Crazier things have happened, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all of a sudden somebody becomes available that you don't think that they're going to be available, and it's like, oh, well, maybe that changes the calculus. Right. And, Comcast has the money. It's not like they don't want to eat $8 million. Right.
Who does, yeah.
But, I mean, you may think that there's a scenario that's better for you, that you sit there and say, well, imagine we're paying that extra $8 million to give us this better scenario.
Right.
I mean, I know a lot of people are like freaking out because the story that Drager put out about Brind'Amour, not getting his, does he get re-upped in Carolina, and oh my God, bring Brind'Amour home, like that would be unbelievable. I think that's a long shot, but you never know, and I think that's probably a situation where Rod's agent is probably using the media a little bit. I mean, they just won a series, right? Now there's a lot of excitement around the team. People think that that's a team that can go to the Stanley Cup, right, out of the Eastern Conference. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, but you guys don't have a new contract for our coach. I mean, come on, get him a contract, kind of thing. Like that's how I look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we were talking about this in the pre, but they took his deal off the table, whatever they had offered off the table. Now, if you're the owner, man, why are you doing that right now?
Right, that's the worst time to do it.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah,
I just don't.
Well, I mean, that owner's not.
I know.
He's not spending a lot of money, right? He's kind of a cheap guy, but that's kind of what the situation is in Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. So. It's crazy. It is kind of crazy. But what do you think about this Michkov? You're hearing things about him maybe possibly coming over next year.
I don't think it's going to happen now. Like when they said, oh, it could happen as soon as June. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Do I think there's a chance that at the end of the next KHL season, when just like Fedotov this year, and then they terminate the last year of the contract, and then he can come over and maybe play at the end of next season?
Right.
I think that's a realistic possibility. It's the same. They have the same agent, right? And you never know what the behind the scenes dealings are to kind of work with those Russian teams are. Nobody talks about it. It's that kind of stuff. But who knows? I mean, so I think that there's a possibility that he gets here before the third year. I think that third year gets dropped off. Could get dropped off. But I don't think it's going to be. We're going to get an announcement in June that Matvei Michkov's going to be on the Flyers in October.
Right.
I'd be surprised if it happens. I'll admit it. I'll be surprised.
Yeah. You brought up Fedotov. Were you surprised with the deal he got?
No.
Okay.
And I think that that's part of this whole. I think it's part of the whole brand.
All right. Same agents, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right.
Now that agent agent works a little bit harder to get him out of that contract in Russia, knowing that his client is getting a bigger deal here in the United States, and the agent makes a little bit of money off that.
Great point.
So I think that's I think that. So that no, I'm not surprised by it.
Okay.
And then when you look at it, ultimately, I mean, look, the cap's going up.
Yeah.
It's going to keep going up. It's really, you're paying, what is it, between the two goalies that are going to be your goalies next year, it's less than $5 million or something around $5 million, whatever it is. I mean, it's not, you're not paying a ton of money for goaltending.
True.
I mean, think about it. Like, we had Jonesy on at the beginning of the season, and even though Bobrovsky's had a great year and Florida's got a real chance to win a Stanley Cup, do you think that they want to pay $10 million to a number one goalie?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money for a goalie.
It is.
And because you see teams winning without a goalie like that.
Right.
Yes.
Right? So the money would be better allocated for a number one defenseman or a top line center. That's where you want to have that money tied up. And so, I mean, there are teams that are paying more for goalies, but it doesn't always work out for them in that regard.
Yeah. True.
Nast, why don't you talk about AG1? Our newest Nasty Knuckles partner.
Oh, my God. It's like I said, it's part of my routine now. Every day, every morning, first thing I do is I take a scoop, mix it into the water, and I drink it down. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions I've made. I originally I saw an ad for it on Instagram, and I'm like, I got to give this a try. It's actually replaced my multivitamins because it has so much in it. But I was feeling a little sluggish around lunch. I think I told you that before. And I'm telling you, I drink it first thing in the morning, and I never get that midday sluggish feeling. And I just feel more focused, and actually even my gut health feels better.
Well, that's no surprise there, Nast. Prebiotics, probiotics help support the digestive enzymes in your gut. Also, folate, magnesium, and ashwagandha for stress support. I know you're pretty stressed out, too.
I do honestly get stressed easily, and it has helped.
We're looking ultra calm right now.
So calm.
And for all athletes out there, AG1 is tested for over 950 contaminants and is NSF certified for sport, which is hugely important.
If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. And we're both so super excited to have them as a new partner. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/knuckles. That's drinkag1.com/knuckles. Check it out.
Get it. What are the Flyers looking to do in the offseason?
I'm going to be curious to see. I think there's some names who were here that may not be here next year. I'm going to be curious to see what happens with Farabee. That's the name that really seems interesting to me. I think there's a lot of interest in him around the league, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of offers Danny gets for him. I think there's value there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's real value there, and he seems to me to be another guy who, if Torts is going to be your coach, doesn't quite fit with the coach.
Yep.
So, I think that's a real right. I think that's a real possibility. So I'm curious to see what happens there. Look, Morgan Frost has been available for trade for over a year. They haven't moved him because they don't think that they feel like they were getting value for him. I wonder if that changes now that he had a decent season overall. He's another guy that disappeared down the stretch, but I think up till that point he was having a decent season. Maybe teams look at that and say there's still something untapped there. Maybe we can give you, and maybe they up the offer for him there. Right. So I think that's another interesting name to kind of watch. And I wonder if they're going to be able to move Risto's contract.
Right.
That's the other one that I think is curious for me. Like, where can you get teams were interested in him before he got hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
I also heard from people around the league that that's a guy that probably would be better to be moved in the offseason because you get him for a full training camp and get him to play into the system that way and learn it, as opposed to coming in and picking it up on the fly, where he kind of maybe would struggle with that a little bit, the way he plays. So I think that there's still maybe interest in that, but I wonder how much him being out for the whole season and not seeing him play for the last 4 months impacts that. And so, and then, do you eat some of that contract? I mean, there's a lot of things that can come into play there. So I think that there's going to be some changes. They won't go after any big names. I think you might see some hockey trades. Yeah. And, player for player kind of thing. Like I think you'll see a couple of those. And of course they're going to invest in the draft. I mean, they got 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Like they're going to go get some players and hope that they hit. You know? And if you hit on 50% of them, that's a win.
That's a win for sure. Yeah, it is.
So minimal free agent signings you're looking at.
I think kind of like last year.
Yeah.
But when we look at the guys that Danny brought in last year, they were impact players.
They were,
right? I mean, Hathaway was a nice addition. Ryan Poehling kind of took over Coots' role in a lot of ways, right? And they gave him a new contract. So and Sean Walker turned out. I mean, you traded for him, but turned out to get you a first-round pick. Yeah. So like it all kind of worked out. Yeah. It did. So I think that you're going to see similar type moves.
Yeah.
Like nothing that's going to blow you away, but the players that kind of feed into the culture of the team and kind of help it keep growing going forward. I think that's what they'll look at.
Yeah, they did a hell of a job there with those.
Yeah, I mean, those were great moves. They, like you said, they worked out really well. And, some people were talking about Sean Walker, like, well, they shouldn't have traded him. But you didn't know, first of all, everyone was going to get hurt. Second of all, you got a first-round pick, to your point. Yes. That's huge. I mean, he was great this year. He played great. I mean, for the Flyers.
Totally. He was a steady Eddie.
He was. Really, he sure was. He really was. But you end up getting a first-round pick for him, like you said. So, I mean,
and not only that, are you going to give him the contract that he's going to probably want as a free agent?
Right. As a free agent, yes.
At his age, and think that fits your timeline. Right. Like to me, that doesn't make sense. So to trade him and get a first-round pick was the right move. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, look, in the offseason, if it come July 1, he's not getting that contract and all of a sudden he has to the agent has to pull back a little bit, well, then maybe you re-engage that.
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
That's a great point.
I don't think it'll happen. I think he'll get, because he's that right shot defenseman, man.
Yeah,
everybody wants to pay for it, right? So I don't think that'll happen. But, you play that game sometimes and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was going to ask you too, like Craig Berube's available, obviously, and I've heard Ottawa very interested in him. It'd be interesting to see if Toronto does go out. I feel like he's a guy like, I think a lot of teams would want Craig Berube, but also the Devils, I think, have a lot of interest in him from what I've been hearing.
Well, the Devils would make a lot of sense for him personally.
Yeah, close to home.
Right. I mean,
he wants to be with his he
wants to be with his family. He's close to home. He could just be right up the turnpike and be there, right? I thought that the team that he would have been best with would have been Buffalo. And I was stunned that they brought Lindy Ruff back.
I was too. We talked about
stunned that they brought Lindy Ruff back.
Last week we had Lots on, and I was like, he had mentioned that, and I said, Lindy's got him buzzing. I had a series with them in the Pens right now, and Lots was like, wait, what? But yeah, that shocked me. And I said to Rouse, I'll say, well, if it doesn't work with him, they'll bring back Ted Nolan again. Third time, just bring him back.
Bring them all back. Bring them all back.
But yeah, that shocked me too a little bit.
Like I thought that was a team that would have benefited from what Chief brings,
right?
As far as a coach, like I felt like that would be a really nice marriage. There's some good young players there, and they I feel like with the right coach, they could be good in Buffalo. And I think they made the worst mistake possible going back to Lindy, and I don't know if they'll grow under him. Look, we all know that Chief and Jonesy are close,
right?
We know this; it's not a secret. It would make a lot of sense. But if you're locked into Torts for one more year, can you convince Chief to do TV for a year and then be available a year from now? Yeah. Like, can that conversation be had? I don't know. Chief wants to coach again. I mean, he's been on the show with us too, right? And he said it. He wants to be on. He wants to be behind the bench again. Yeah. I don't know if you. I don't care how close you are with a guy. If that's what he wants to do for his career and for his life and his family, I don't know if he's going to say, "Oh, I'll wait a year just to see what happens here."
Right.
I don't think that's the case. Point. So I do think he's going to get a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
someone's going to get a good coach, really good coach.
Yep,
for sure.
Yeah. And you're right. Toronto would be a good spot. Although they have this thing where they refuse to go out and get a goalie or refuse to go out and get defensemen. Like it's like they pay all their big money guys, and it's great for the regular season that Austin Matthews can score you 69 goals. But what are you doing in the playoffs?
Yeah,
you know, it's the same thing happens year in and year out. So I don't know if you want to go into that situation, but Jersey makes a lot of sense to me.
It does.
Right? Yeah,
yeah.
I know it does. I hate if you're the Flyers, you know, facing him 5 times a year, you know, just because he was available. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, but.
Yeah, look, he was in the press box a lot.
Yeah.
After he got fired by St. Louis.
Yeah.
We saw him like several times.
Yeah, he was doing some work because him and Army are still close.
Yes.
And so he was doing some scouting for them.
Yeah,
and
technically.
Exactly.
Technically.
Yeah.
While he's sitting over there like having his conversations with Jonesy
with everybody.
and coming over and hanging out with us for a while.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
exactly. Exactly.
Feeling it out. Hey, hockey heads, get ready for the Daily Face-Off Playoff Parlay Challenge. Each game day, answer 4 questions. Picking the winning team, guess if points will be over or under, predict the first goal, and choose the highest scoring period. Daily winners snag gift cards, while each round's champs pocket cash. Play now at games.dailyfaceoff.com and prove your puck prowess. It's fast, it's fun, and it's all about hockey. Let's go.
Quickly, all the talk's been about the whole Toronto thing with Willie Nylander, you know, giving it to Marner, but you know, our buddy of ours, Jay Rosehill, he's on she has a couple shows actually that he does, and he just went bananas the other night. Kind of reminded me of Bundy when he gets wound up. He's like this entitled guy, but I mean, he was right.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I don't know if you've been paying a lot of attention to that series, but I just thought it was pretty comical.
Yeah, I mean, I try to pay attention to every series, but more so from watching it. And not necessarily reading about it.
Right.
I mean, now that it's baseball season, I'm over at the ballpark a lot, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a lot. There's only so much I can ingest reading wise, but I am paying attention to the you know, the games. I'm watching the games at night when I'm home. It's been a hell of a series.
Yeah. It has.
It really has.
I thought,
and I love that story too.
Yeah, it was great. I thought Boston was going to take care of it, but now I'm a little worried.
Yeah,
going back to TO tonight, so. We'll see. I can't wait to watch the game tonight.
I think Boston wins tonight.
Do you? I said that too.
I do. I do think that they win tonight. I think Toronto gave you their best possible game in Game 5.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And that was it. And so I think Boston looks and goes, okay, is that all they have? All right, we got this.
Yeah.
Like seriously, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
You know? It was very similar to, like, I think Dallas and Vegas, very similar style series where, you know, Vegas wins those first 2 games. Like, oh my God, they're going to pull this upset. Here they are, you know, rigging it again with the you know, Mark Stone. Everyone's hurt all year.
Yeah.
Come back and okay, loopholes out the wazoo, and then Dallas is like, all right, we got this.
Yeah,
and they win the 1 game in overtime, and then boom, they win the next 2, and they're up 3-2 now. I think the better teams finally realize they're the better team.
And
I think the same thing there.
I was talking to Stalker yesterday, and I'm like, it's crazy when you're in the playoffs how quickly the tides can turn your emotion. Like, you know, Dallas going in there is like, oh boy, we're in one. Like, all right, we got to get one. We got to get 1, right? And then you end up now you've run off 3. Yeah, it's just, you know, you're down here, now you're up here. Yeah. I mean, that's why they always say you got to stay even keel, man. Like, kind of like I was talking about Mac T earlier when he's like, don't worry about it, we'll go there.
Yeah, getting 2. Yeah, exactly.
But it's been fun to watch for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I preseason my pick was Dallas and Florida.
Wow.
In the Cup.
Wow.
And I think Dallas is going to win. And I stuck with that going into the playoffs as a prediction. But when they got down 2-0, I was a little worried.
Sure.
I'll be honest, I was a little worried about it. And I'll tell you, you know, Florida impressed me against Tampa, but I do now worry a little bit about them playing against either I think they beat either Boston or Toronto, but I do worry a little bit about them against either the Rangers or Carolina.
Right.
The way those 2 teams played really well in the first round. Right. And so, you know, that I wonder if maybe I got that side of it wrong, but I still think Dallas is going to go. Colorado played incredible against Winnipeg. They were so good against Winnipeg that I almost sit there and go, that's a scary team too. That's a real scary team
really
right now. So like it's so fun to watch with the playoffs. There's nothing like it.
Yeah,
There's
you're
just
right.
nothing like it.
It's my favorite time of the year for sure.
No doubt. How about those Oilers?
Well, they're great. Great offensive team. I'm not in love with the goaltending, man.
Yeah.
I'm just not, and I don't think you can win with bad goaltending. I think you can win with okay to good goaltending.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't think you can win with bad goaltending.
No,
and look, do they have an easier matchup path? I think so. Like, I originally picked Nashville to upset Vancouver in that series.
Okay.
Still could happen.
Still could happen, but I still think that Vancouver probably has the edge right now. There's something about the Canucks team that I'm not sure about. Like, there's something not right. So I think Edmonton can win that.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure Edmonton can beat Dallas or Colorado.
Yeah,
right.
Or even Vegas if they come back and win that. Like, I just think I look at that matchup and say that's probably not a good one for Edmonton. Right. So I think that's as far as the Oilers go. I think they can go to the conference final, but that's it.
Speaking of them quickly, just you got a chance to Chris Knobloch. Like, what a great guy, man. Like, I'm so happy for that
him.
guy.
Yeah.
Like, he is such a good man. And I wonder where we're going to get him on here, but I would love to know, like, maybe he wouldn't say it, but Connor McDavid had to go in there and be like, hey, this guy, like, because he played for him in juniors. And maybe he didn't, but I have
Well, you have to assume that a superstar player has the ability to make an endorsement for a coach.
Yes.
Like, I think that management would go to a star player like that and say, what do you think of this? You played for the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And get his endorsement for it. Like, if Connor goes in, if you go to Connor and he says, oh, I hate the guy, I don't want to play for him.
Right.
I'm pretty sure you're not hiring him, right? Exactly. So I think he probably was not necessarily consulted, but he was certainly asked for his opinion.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I'm sure he gave a great glowing report for the guy.
Yeah, the guy's unbelievable.
Really good coach.
Great coach, great person, family, his whole family, just really good people. So super happy for him. But you got anything else, Riggedy?
Well, I was gonna just ask you. You said you weren't sure exactly what it was with Vancouver that you didn't like. Can you expand a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that team. I watched them play. I just think that there's just an element that's missing. Maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe they're not fully cooked. Yet. You know what I mean by that? Like, I mean, you see the talent, you know why they're good, you know why they had the great season. It's kind of like New Jersey was for me last year. Like, I saw the Devils and said, wow, they're having a really great year. Mm-hmm. I'm not certain that this team's ready to win a Stanley Cup. And then, of course, they didn't. And then they took a big step back this year. And I worry that Vancouver's got that same kind of element to it. I mean, look, Quinn Hughes, hell of a defenseman, man. Like, unbelievable player. But there's just that little bit of something when I watch those games. I go, good team. I'm not sure that they have what it takes to go far.
Yeah.
Right.
Yet they might need that. They might need a little bit more seasoning.
Yeah,
that's
just fair enough.
It's just a gut feeling, a gut thing watching them. It's not really any one particular thing.
Yeah,
it's just the way that watching them play. That's what I just have a gut feeling about.
Yeah, no, I was just curious on that because I read some stuff around, having a guy like Hughes as your number one. Like, obviously, as you mentioned, like, unbelievable player, but like, you look at the teams that have won historically, like,
it doesn't.
Like, there's maybe a missing piece or variable there.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think
maybe
that
seasoning.
Yeah, and that's what I think that I don't love the blue line so much there as far as experience and veteran know-how.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of fans who watch hockey get so caught up in the offensive numbers and the offensive part of the game that they lose track of just how much of the role players are needed to win at this level and understand. Like, everybody needs to understand that at one point, every player, no matter what your role is on an NHL team, at one point you were a high-scoring offensive player, right? I mean, Ross, go back to when you were, when you were a young player, right? I mean, you scored a bunch, right? I mean, so like at some point in your career, you were that player, and the people that make it in the NHL are willing to accept a role that's not that.
That's right.
And a lot of times, that's the difference between making it and not making it, because you're like, oh, but I was always this guy. And I can't. You want me to do this now? But if you accept that role and do it well, and know how to make that be part of what makes your team win, that's value. There's real value to that. And I think that teams that have that are teams that win championships.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at these teams that have won in the past few years, they've been littered with those kinds of players on the rosters. That matters more than, yes, you do need that high-end talent, but you can have high-end talent and not have that, and you're probably not going to win. Look at Toronto. This is my perfect example, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's and Edmonton up till this point. I mean, McDavid's been in the league for what? How many years now? And with Draisaitl, I mean, you have two of the best players in the game, and you don't win anything. Why? And it's because you're missing the rest of the pieces behind it that are those role players that matter. I think that's a big thing. I think that's what Vancouver's lacking.
Okay. Yeah, it's good insight.
Perfect player that we've talked about this before that was able to do that, Scott Laughton. And he went and spent a full season in the minors and he did it. And, and he didn't bitch, and we've talked about that a lot. But
I mean, there's a reason that teams have been trying to get Scott Laughton from the Flyers. And teams have offered high draft picks for Scott Laughton from the Flyers, from Flyers. And fans say, well, why didn't you take that draft pick? Because it's not just about. Think about what you're giving up.
Right. Exactly.
Think about the person and the player that you're giving up and what he means to the locker room and what he means to that team.
Exactly.
There is incredible value in that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, it may come to a point this summer where that has to happen. Maybe. We'll see what things as we approach the draft. If people start to get a little bit antsy and say we need that veteran type player on our team, we'll give up more than we've ever offered before.
Right.
Maybe. And then if you're Danny, you have a decision to make.
Yes.
And then business is business, right?
Right.
But there's a reason to this point he has not pulled that trigger, even though he could have.
Yeah.
And that shows the value that other teams have of a player like Scott Laughton, and it shows the value that the Flyers have for a player like Scott Laughton.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
So true. Great insight.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to plug before we let you go?
No, I don't need to plug. You guys already plugged Snow the Goalie for me.
It's awesome.
Stuff.
You guys
Cross
do
and
a
Broad,
great
all that
job.
good stuff. Yeah, you guys already plugged it, so I appreciate that. No, there's nothing else. Nothing else I want to plug.
Keep dog. I call Bundy dog. That's what we call each other dog. Keep him calm. Keep him calm.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. He's actually he's coming to my wedding.
Oh, nice.
Which is like, I mean, that's the craziest thing, right? I mean, I never thought about like this path that we're going to take, right? And all of a sudden, Bundy's coming to my wedding. He's like, him and Nicole are just so fired up to be at the wedding, and they're loving it. It's great. So it's
congrats, brother. Why should you be happy?
Yeah,
dude. I'm fucking with you, man. I'm kidding.
You kidding me? Like, and I tell Maria all the time, like, she's a panic about this. We are weddings in September, and she's like, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that, and I'm like, dude, all we are doing is throwing a very expensive party for friends and family. That's all we're doing. I'm 50 years old. I'm not 25. Like, we don't need to have all this pomp and circumstance. We're good. We already live together now. Like, what do I need to do? And it's just like, oh, but we need this, we need that. I'm like, all right, just pull out the credit card. Next thing, I got to pay this.
Well, listen, I have 2 daughters who are getting married next summer.
Yeah.
So if you want to let me borrow that credit card, good thing my pal here is going to give me some of that cake he's got.
Oh, yeah, right. Absolutely.
Oh, man, but that's good. Congrats, man. That's
appreciate
awesome,
that.
man.
Appreciate
that's so
that.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I tell you what, we appreciate your time. We know how busy you are, and like I said, you guys do a great job, man. Keep it up, and been buddies a long time.
Yeah, no,
appreciate
I love it.
Your friendship.
Thank you for everything you guys do too. I love your show. Watch it all the time.
Thank you.
So it's good stuff.
All right,
Sweet.
brother.
Thanks for making the trek.
Anytime.
Big thank you to our friend Ant SanFilippo.
Always got a scoop.
Always got the scoops.
He does a really good job too, though. Actually.
Yeah,
he's a good dude. We've known him for a long time. It's funny how far it goes back, but I appreciate his time and all his insight. And he's usually pretty dead on with it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's usually not speculating. It's it's usually
that's the truth.
Usually from the horse's mouth. So appreciate his insights.
Yep. Great guy.
A lot of question marks still, obviously. There's a lot of, just kind of speculation going into the offseason with some of these moves, but he's always got a pulse on what's going on.
It'll be interesting, like you said, just to see, what the Flyers end up doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that could happen, I guess, and we appreciate him coming on and letting us know.
Thank you, Ant.
Yep.
Nast.
Is it?
It is that time.
It's that time for Clear Questions.
Mm-hmm.
Clear Questions brought to you by Clear Rum. Go to clearrum.com/shop. Type in Nasty 2023 and get 35% off of your order. PA residents only, but just drive over the bridge and do it if you have to. Go pick it up. You will not be disappointed. It's unreal. You even like the Cusey. comes with some blueberries in there.
Oh, why not?
He only had a little swig, but very refreshing. Summery. Some summer drinks right here, boys. It's almost that time. It's hot enough today.
Down.
I know that.
Oh, that's right.
Good thing I washed my car yesterday, Riggs. It's pollen all over it again.
It happens.
It happens.
Right,
Let's go, baller.
What's up, boys? Leading us off today is Justin Giam over on Twitter. He asks, any favorite activities to do in the offseason that you couldn't do during the NHL season?
Well, for me, probably golf. Like to golf.
You don't think the boys are mixing in a couple rounds down in Florida? Or?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty hot down there already.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But, yeah, like, for most of the guys, everyone usually likes to golf.
Yeah, for sure.
I played pickleball the other day.
I saw that.
So that's going to be, it's going to be fun. I'm interested when you come off the LTI. Maybe we can play. I think I got you. I think I can beat you. But golfing's probably one of the biggest things for most hockey players. You're not huge into golfing, but
yeah, I think anybody's finding some snow somewhere and going to the links.
I don't think the links. You mean the Devil's D? Is he talking about Devil's Dandy?
Scratch that one.
That could definitely. What do you mean scratch it? Don't scratch it. Go into the links. I just said they're going to the links, big boy.
Slopes.
I'm not sure where they're making snow right now.
It's got to be somewhere cold in Europe, no?
It can get somewhere, but
none of it?
I think they're none of it.
Northwest Territories?
I'm pretty sure they're golf. Way up. Yeah, it could be. Flin Flon?
No, a little more north than Flin Flon. I was talking above Canada.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. Yeah, I would say golf for the most part. Tennis, some guys.
Yeah.
Good question.
Riding motorcycles?
Can't do it. No, don't. Don't. Danger Bay, as you would say. Yeah. Dangerous. I don't like them.
Skydiving?
No.
Boys don't do that?
Oh, look. Will Ferrell. Look at me. I'm
Splat.
dead. Oh, man. Good question. Thank you.
Over on Instagram, we got Michael. He wants to know, what's the craziest in-game repair you've had to do?
Craziest? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is the time I actually welded a pair of skates for my
with your bare hands.
Bare hands, clay.
No gloves.
No gloves on.
You don't need
no, honestly, one of the things that sticks out the most is actually more than once I've had to, like, a shoulder pad literally fell apart, and I have hand stitched a shoulder pad back
right on
together.
the bench.
Right on the bench. I did it twice. Once with the Phantoms, one with the Flyers. I remember doing it. I think it was Divvy. But yeah, sitting there. Yeah, I just took the jersey off, and I literally threw 3 stitches in, and that was with the Phantoms. And I remember Ben Eager, Divvy, we called him Divvy. I was able to use those ties, a tie, and cut 2 ties because they were little plastic hooks.
Right.
So I put it through and boom, boom, really quick. Those are not crazy, but in game, on the bench. I did that. So that's probably
a good one. And probably some goalie modifications too.
Yeah, either cutting a neck guard, the dangler off because it's one piece got broken or whatever, things like that. But I've had to change their cages, but that's intermission,
right.
In between periods. But in game, actually, on the bench, those, I would say the shoulder pads.
Nice.
This one's from Ritzy_66 over on Instagram.
Ritzy Poo! Is that from Ritzy and LV's pod? I believe it is.
Sounds like it.
What's up, Ritzy?
He wants to know who was the most fun to hang out with after games.
Well, for me, after games, I was usually going to meet you at Chicken Peas.
Yeah. So both of us?
Yeah, you were my favorite guy to go hang out with.
Yeah, there was trying to think.
We used to have a crew.
I would say Ashram was always a good time after games, win, lose.
Yeah, win or lose.
Still
Jake
booze.
Voracek's a really good time. Any
Jakey
day
Poo.
or night.
Yeah, right.
After a game, but I look back at I remember us always going over. I would usually meet you because I had to take the goalies and the skates back to the zone, and I'd run back over to the bridge and meet you at Chickies. Usually we had a cool little setup. They used to take care of us there. Used to meet our buddies.
Oh yeah,
Eric and Tanya and even Bam Margera a few times. I remember Bam came a few times, hung out with us. Oof.
Yeah, he
was there.
Prime shape every time.
Oh, could have been a little Devil's D hanging around the crib.
It was a combination.
There was a little bit of everything going on when we used to do that. So I'd say Riley was one of my favorites.
Oh, thanks, Nas.
You're welcome.
That's nice of you.
Thanks a lot for coming. Debo, how you doing? All right.
Pretty good.
We got one more. This is from Coyotes PL over on Twitter. What's your thoughts on healthy scratching Delorier at the end of the season?
Well, I'm a sucker for D'Lo.
Yeah.
And I just think that having him in the lineup is just seems to be like a staple.
Right.
The way he skates and what he brings, veteran presence. I understand the situation that they were in, and I'm not going to dispute the choice to scratch him for maybe just a guy that plays a few more minutes that can maybe contribute a little more offensively. But I see what he brings, and how I feel about D'Lo.
Right.
I just think, having a guy like that in the lineup, over time he's not going to hurt you.
He's definitely not going to hurt you.
No.
So,
but
yeah, I wouldn't. That's not like the one thing I would look at and be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But like I would want him in the lineup every night.
Yeah.
I think he just brings an awareness to the other team. There's not that anyone down the stretch is really. There's nothing crazy going on, but having him in the lineup for one doesn't hurt you, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't up in arms over it, but I would like to have D'Lo in the lineup just in case.
Yeah, especially I guess the way you look at that this past season is like they were in it for 95% of the year, right?
Yeah.
And just like generating that Flyers culture, that identity, he just fits.
He does.
He just seems to fit the bill, but understand their situation, and you have to make some hard decisions as a coach down the stretch. And
right.
Fortunately, it's where the game's at these days. So
yep, for sure. Great question. Oh, thank you.
That's a wrap, Nast.
That's it?
That's it for the clear questions.
Oh, man.
And 156 in the books.
In the books, boys.
Can you believe it?
I can't.
No, neither can I. Until next week. Do it again for 157.
Yes.
Be sure to ask us some questions, comment. What else, Nast?
Subscribe.
So I got to subscribe.
Do it all.
You got to do it all.
We appreciate everyone.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next week, stay safe, knuckleheads.
See ya.